Today we are in chapter 13 and test 28. So actually we read the slogas and the translation and the purport. Now we hand over to you, Madaji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for allowing me to speak on this topic today from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So let's first offer the prayers. Om Ajnanathmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashaita Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I just bow down to all the lotus feet of all the Vaishnavas so that I may be able to speak the relevant words of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, kindly bless me, dear devotees, so that I may be able to speak the relevant words of Bhagavad Gita of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So first of all, I want to offer my prayers to Kritika Mataji because obviously their family is suffering from COVID. So let's first offer the prayers by chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. All right, so we will get started with today's topic, and so before that, as we usually do, we will do a recap from 13.27. I know Path Prabhuji would have done a great job in explaining this verse for all of you. I'm not going to go in depth, but I'm just going to give a little bit of overview so that we can see the link between this verse and the next verse. Okay. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam stavara jankaman kshetra kshetragnayor samyogat tatviti paradarshava. So let's understand this verse. Yavat sanjayate kinchit, even the smallest of it, sattvam stavara jankaman, that which is moving and non-moving. Kshetra kshetragnayor samyogat. There is always this combination of Kshetra and Kshetragnya. Tat vidhi Bharatarshava. Know it, whatever we see in this world is nothing but it's a combination of Kshetra and Kshetragnya. Tat vidhi Bharatarshava. So this is what is the understanding for this verse. Again, if you look at it, it's not a specific question that Arjuna is asking to Krishna. But this is a bonus which Krishna is giving as a further integrated view of the concepts that we have talked about till now. So what is Krishna doing in this chapter, in this particular verse, is that he's telling a variety of this world can be reduced to some fundamentals. And the capacity to reduce this diversity to fundamentals helps us to get a more enlightened view. So ultimately, whatever we see in this world, maybe a painting, right? It is a combination of Kshetra and Kshetragnya. Given that there are color in the paints, there is a canvas, all that is a part of Kshetra. And there is also a painter that is involved, and he is the Kshetragnya, which is the knower of the world. So that way, if you look at whatever this world has to offer, it is nothing but a combination of Kshetra and Kshetragnya. Suppose there is a big building. Right, big building is also a combination of Kshetra and Kshetragnya, because the effort to build that building is the building is nothing but obviously it's the Kshetra, the body, but then who built the building? It is the person who built the building. So it's a combination of Kshetra and Kshetragnya. Of course, this is the philosophical vision that we have in general, but Jnana Chakshu is what will enable us to see more deeply. So what is this Jnana Chakshu? How should we see these things? With respect to material things, our duty as a sadhaka is to become detached from these things. And spiritual things, we want to become attached. So when we look into this world, we don't want to be infatuated with what this world has to offer, but we talk in terms of detachment, in terms of seeing it with jnana chakshu. So how do we see it? It is ultimately a combination of kshetra and kshetrajna. So this is what Srila Prabhupada helps us to understand. See, this creation is made of kshetra and kshetrajna, and the cause of all causes is the Supreme Lord. Now, once we understand this, what is the result? That brings us to the equal vision. So that is what will be talked about in the next verse. Again, we have to understand this verse very nicely before we go on to the next verse. So human mind, there is this mind, and this progresses by comprehension of different things by categorization, right? The reality is that we look around us, it is so complex, and we have to have some sort of categorization with which we fit things in, so that obviously the devotee is not overwhelmed about how much data is coming into him. Because so much data needs to be processed, it will be very difficult unless we categorize it. So what do you mean by this? So there is an example. So when we are in India, in Mumbai, there is somebody who's come from South India, somebody who's come from Maharashtra, somebody who's come from America, and somebody who's come from some other place. So depending on who we are interacting with, we may decide to talk to them in different languages. Say, for example, if he's a North Indian, we would talk to him in Hindi. And if he's a Maharashtrian, or if he's from Maharashtra, we would talk to him in Maharashtrian language, Marathi, right? And if he's a South Indian, depending on whatever language he speaks, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, accordingly, we'll speak one of those languages. We may also talk to an American in English. So this is the modes of communication. We categorize people, and then depending on the categorization, we give a proper response to them, right? So this is what we do. So based on the way we observe people, maybe the way they dress, or maybe the way they speak, the accent of their speech, based on that, we have some certain inputs. And we take these inputs, we process the inputs, and then we put that particular person in a particular category. Say, for example, if he's not an Indian, if he's just got the white skin, I mean, the skin is not white, but it's just that he's fairer than the Indian skin people. So he's a white. So just by looking at him, we may want to probably talk to him in English, or we may think, okay, he's an American or an European. And accordingly, we will base our communication to be in that language. So this is what we do. So the more and more categorical, the more and more we get the inputs from different areas, accordingly we would categorize and put them into particular bucket, and accordingly we will also have a response mechanism with them. So now let's give it a more categorical example. Let's say we see a cat, right? We also see a tiger. So the level of threat from a cat is categorically less than a level of threat from a tiger or a lion. So with this differentiation, we will respond differently. If we see a cat, we will have some affection for the cats. We may go and pat the cat, right? We will just pat it up. But then if you see a tiger or a lion, we will probably feel for our life. So based on how we classify, we actually respond. I'm going to come to the principle. Just want you to understand this with examples so that I will just come to the principle. So this is what categorization is. So in all, by just vision, we may be acquired sometimes. See, this vision is required because we want to see things in a functional way. But this is how, okay, this person, we have to function in a particular way. And in order to function in the particular way, we react in a particular way. We give our responses by categorizing people and then accordingly giving our responses. This is one way. Okay. And so the functional way obviously is necessary, but then we also have to look at what is it that a spiritually realized person will see, right? Because this verse says that spiritual realizations comes when we see that actually whatever be the categorization, essentially All the existence, all the living beings are nothing but a combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So there is soul, right? And all around this whole, so this philosophical vision, I mean, what we need to understand is Srila Prabhupada's point, is that everything, again, when we look at it, even from a functional point of view, if you look at what a spiritually realized person sees, he sees nothing but a combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So there is soul. That is something that we need to understand. And the point is, we need to have spiritual vision. So the functional vision obviously is important for functional practical purposes, but philosophical vision is important for what? For moving towards higher realization. This is what is the point. So Krishna is guiding Arjuna towards rising to a higher level of consciousness, right? When he is going to engage in a Kurukshetra war, he doesn't want these people to be seen as just bodies, because the body, inside the body, there is also the soul. That is what he wants Arjuna to look at. So this is what Srila Prabhupada means by this purport. Looking it as a combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna is the philosophical vision, is the spiritualized vision a devotee will look at. Okay, and obviously the vision will help us to understand that there is essential reality that we share with all the living beings in this world. That is, we are all spirit soul. That is the vision we share. And this vision is a very important vision. We are all living beings at a spiritual level. We are all living beings. And essentially, all living beings are combination of matter and spirit. That is Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So hopefully I made the point clear. So this is what is the understanding from this verse. So Krishna, he's telling that varieties of this world can be reduced to combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And this Jnana Chakshu is what enables us to see the person with a. So again, when you look at material things, we have to look at it with a detached vision. And then when you look at spiritual things, you have to have that attached vision. And functionality is very important. You look at it with a functional vision by categorizing and accordingly giving a response to the person. That is definitely needed for a practical lifetime scenario. But then the more higher way of realization is looking at all of them as a combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, looking at the point where we are all soul and everybody is ultimately having this commonality of the soul. Hope this helps. And now we can come to our today's verse, which is 13.28. Okay, and now Krishna is going to talk to us about what is this equal vision? What does this mean? Right now we understand what our vision should be like, and how are we supposed to look at people with an equal vision? What does this exactly mean? Which is what is the connection between this verse and next verse. And again, the Supreme Kshetrajna will also come later. Okay, the Supreme Kshetrajna, who's the super soul, the cause of all causes, will also be talked about later. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinasyatsva vinasyantam yap pashyati sa pashyati. Okay. So one who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and one who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees. Sarveshu bhuteshu, one who sees all living beings equally. So the person, he could be an American, he could be a Russian, he could be a Puerto Rican, but ultimately he's combination of what from previous words? He's a combination of soul and body. And similarly, there may be a python, there may be an eagle, there may be a tiger, there may be a dolphin, it might be a starfish, but all of them are what? They are nothing but souls who are encased in the body. And we see like that, that is equal vision. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu. All living beings we see equally. Equally meaning we are all having combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna. That is the soul, and the soul unites all the living beings. That is Samam sarveshu bhuteshu. Tishtantam parameshwaram. So one who sees Parameshwaram, the Ishvara who is Parama. an Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, I think Prahlad Prabhu read that purport, and he mentioned that Srila Prabhupada calls Parameshwara as Supreme Lord, and he also calls the Jiva as Parameshwara, right? So we need to understand that. So obviously the soul who is transcendental, the soul is also Ishvara. The soul is not Supreme Ishvara, the soul is Ishvara. And the usage of this word para, meaning the soul is transcendental. And we also see this word Ishvara being used in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, specifically the verse number 15.8. He says the soul enters into the body and soul leaves the body. The Ishvara in this way, it enters and leaves the body, right? The soul is Ishvara. Why? Why is the soul called Ishvara? It is a very important point to understand. So by its choice, by its desires, by the kind of choices it makes, it has an expression of desires, right? That and that helps that particular soul to get a particular destination, right? This body, because the soul has the capability to desire, is able to choose its destination, and we are able to decide in this life what body we are going to get in the next life. And this is possible because of the soul's desires. And that way, the soul is capable of expressing its desires through the choices it makes. And based on it, it will take a certain destination. So in that sense, it is called Ishvara, because it chooses the direction of its transmigration. So hope you are clear. So here, Ishvara can refer to the soul, and Parameshwara can refer to the God. He is the supreme controller. There are many Ishwaras, but Lord is Parameshwara, right? And one who sees the living beings are similar and situated within them is Parameshwara, one who sees all the living beings equally, and he sees actually the soul and the super soul are situated in the heart. That is when he actually sees, right? Venus. So the next point is Venus Yatsva Vinashyantam. What does that mean? So let's look into that. So now we understood who's Parameshwara, who is Ishvara, why soul is called Ishvara. This is something we understood from the previous line. So next point is that you should see that they are not the bodies. These people, they are not the bodies. We see everybody externally. If you see externally, everybody is a body. But then they are souls. Some part is perishable. What is that part that is perishable? The body is perishable. But there is also some component in the body which is imperishable. Those who see like with this vision, where they see the perishable as a combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, those are able to see it with this kind of a vision, where they are able to see some things as perishable and some things as not perishable. What is perishable? The perishable thing is the body. And what is imperishable? The imperishable thing is the soul. And then they are also able to see the Parameshwara within the heart. Both the soul and the super soul are situated within the heart. If they are able to see it with such a kind of vision, that is when they actually see. So these people, they don't just see the material reality, which is of course perishable, but beyond the material reality, they see something, the spiritual reality, where they see the imperishable beyond the perishable. So which is the understanding. So for example, let's look at it with an example so that we clearly understand this concept. It's very, very important. And this principle of seeing everybody with this jnana chakshu is what makes a difference to our consciousness. So if we start to apply this, there will be no problem with others. There will be no room for criticizing devotees. There will be no room for criticizing anybody in this world whatsoever. So let's understand that. So for example, we may see there is a game which children play, right? Where they have some two pictures, and these children, they are asked to spot out some differences in the picture. Hey kid, come here. I want you to look at these two pictures and see what are the differences from this picture and compare it to this picture. So the first glance, the child looks at this picture and says, "Oh, mommy, I don't see any difference in these pictures. What are you saying? They look the same. I don't see any sort of difference here." And then the mom says, carefully look at the picture and see there are some 12 differences here. Can you carefully spot them out? And then the child starts to look at the picture. And then he says, oh yeah, this is the difference here. This is a different. I don't see an eyebrow. I see an eyebrow here. I see this person is laughing. This person doesn't laugh, like that. This child actually points out the 12 differences the mom says is there in the picture, right? And what happens by understanding thus, they move towards realization. So first they were uninformed, right? Some people, they are not able to see because it's uninformed. They see the picture similar, but with an informed vision, they are able to see the similarity, not only the similarity in the picture, but they're also able to see the differences. Okay. That is the understanding. With an informed vision, we are able to realize and perceive the commonalities, and we are also able to understand the differences. So while seeing certain things, that vision is not complete unless certain things are seen. Some things have to be seen. When you don't see those things, then that means that vision is not complete. Hope you're able to follow along. Let's get into another example to more so understand. Say, for example, there is an X-ray showing that this person has TB. Now, unless there is a pattern showing different coloring of certain area of the lungs where there is presence of TB, unless the medical care or a medical practitioner or a doctor is actually seeing those patterns in that particular X-ray near the lungs for looking for TB identification, unless they are seeing it, that is what is actual seeing. But if they are not seeing that, then that is not seeing. Hope you are able to understand. Some people, they may overlook the color shading that has been created by the distinct patterns in the X-ray. They don't notice it. And because they don't notice it, they don't know that there is TB for this person. So when they neglect or when they overlook that fact, then that means they are not actually seeing. Similarly, we keep seeing each other, but unless we see inside this perishable body, there is an imperishable thing. And there is super soul. Unless we see this, we are not actually seeing. We have to see this. That is when we are actually seeing. So this is the understanding our acharyas give. So very important point. Hope you are able to understand. Again, so to know each other's soul, it is to again, how are we supposed to look, right? I mean, the soul obviously is there, and we need to look at it from that perspective, even through intellectual comprehension, which we understand right now. Say, for example, a person is walking, talking, or doing various things. How are they doing it? How are they doing it? Because there is some consciousness. They are doing it because of some consciousness. And this source of this consciousness is the soul. So when we have this kind of vision, that is when we are actually seeing it. So again, I just gave various examples just for us to help us understand what is seeing means and what is not seeing means. Even when we are seeing externally, if we see the material reality, then that means you are not seeing anything. But if you're seeing the spiritual reality in a person, and that means the Jnana Chakshu is enabled in you, and that means you're looking at all of them with an equal vision. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu. You are looking people with the equal vision to say that there is soul in this person's body, and I also have that soul, and the super soul is there in everybody's body. Even though this body is perishable, that is not what I'm seeing. But I'm seeing the commonality between all of us. And that person who sees like this is a true seer. Yap pashyati sapashyati. So this is the understanding of this verse. More details, we can definitely talk about it since we have more time. Again, looking at knowledge is the capacity to go beyond the superficial biases or the prejudice or emotionally induced misconceptions. We have to go beyond it. If we start seeing people, I'm an Indian, you know, this person is some other he belongs to the some other nationality, and because of which I brand him to be some terrorist or something like that. So we equate certain people with certain characteristics, and that is not a good idea. For example, some people could, you know, you could just brand that sect of people to be foolish. So the people may just crack jokes upon them. So now this is all bodily misconception. You know, every soul, whichever be the community, whichever be the race, whichever be the gender in which a person is born, ultimately that person is a soul. And of course, there are differences in the bodily level. We cannot deny the differences. There may be cultural, social differences, the way you speak, the way you talk, way you interact with people. Lot of differences and the mannerisms. Lot of differences could be there based on your cultural and social background. But we have to deal with all those people in an appropriate way. We have to see the commonality. So we have to, otherwise what will happen? Quarrel only will take place. Say, for example, there are two opposing families in one family, and maybe if somebody has killed another family person, and the sons become enemies, the grandson becomes enemies, the great grandsons, they also become enemies, and this is continuing for generation after generation after generation, hurting each other. This quarrel is utterly irrelevant. It is all based on bodily conception. But what we do, we tend to aggravate that issue further and further and further, and make it worse and worse and worse and worse. We have the capability to make our lives peaceful, right? If we have that capability to make our lives peaceful, then Krishna is suggesting this beautiful verse, how we should look at everybody, what kind of vision we should have, and what will this lead to. Ultimately, it is for our own benefit, Krishna is saying. You will not have any tensions in this life if you look at people with this kind of vision. And NOI 6, if you look at it, what does it say? Being situated in a original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee of the Lord, he does not identify with the body. Such a devotee, what does he do? He doesn't identify people from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee having a body born in a low family, or with a bad complexion, or maybe he's having a deformed body, or he may be having a diseased body. We should ignore that. We should overlook that. According to the ordinary vision, such imperfections may be prominent. But the body of a pure devotee, despite having some defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. There is a comparison to Ganga. It is exactly like the waters of Ganga, which sometimes during the rainy season, it's definitely full of bubbles, water, and mud. The Ganges water doesn't become polluted. Those in the advanced spiritual understanding, they will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So now the body plays a role. It definitely affects certain people's behavior in certain ways. It affects people's attitude in certain ways. But when we look at it with an equalized vision, this is based primarily out of spiritual knowledge. So this is what, so one sees beyond matter. That is the spirit he sees. And when he sees everything is the existence of matter and spirit, then that is when you will have equal vision. That is when you will be able to see the commonality amongst everybody. This is the point that Srila Prabhupada stresses in the purport. Now, let's understand this even further. Say, for example, when a computer breaks down, we cannot see the problem, right? By specifically staring at that specific parts of the computer, oh my God, my computer is gone. But what do? We call someone. We hear from the computer experts, and they say, oh, these individual parts have to be put together for this whole to be functioning like this. These experts, where did they learn from? They learn from manuals. Computer is an electronic device like that. Where are we supposed to learn these things? Oh, our life is full of problems, but all the problems have solutions, and we have to get our guidance from spiritual experts, our acharyas, to understand what are the principles of living. And by these principles, we actually redirect our love towards Lord Krishna. This is what, and hearing is a sublime process, which is what is recommended in verse number 13.26, which we saw last week. By regularly studying Gita, by purifying ourselves with the practice of devotional service, we are able to see beyond what others are able to see. And this happens by submissive hearing and attentive seeing, conscious seeing. Immediately we cannot develop this vision, but slowly by hearing, because of which we are able to intellectually see things, because of which we are intellectually able to understand things, then we start to see attentively. Okay. And another misconception is there. Equal disposition, does it mean that we have to react with everybody in an identical way? Is that how we have to react? Okay, I see everybody equally. Does it mean I have to respond to everybody in an equal way, the same way? So Bhagavad Gita, so many verses. If you look at 5th chapter 18th verse, 6th chapter 9th verse, 12th chapter 18th verse, 13.13, that is 13.28, this verse, and then 18.54. If you look at these verses, Krishna, he stresses the equal disposition that we need to have towards living beings. As I told you, how should we react, right? That is very important. Everyone who sees equally, they are the true seers. And everybody who doesn't see equally the others have a vision deficiency. They have some problem with vision. So we see that Arjuna, he fought for Yudhishthira, but he fought against Duryodhana. Does it mean he's treating everybody equally? Does it mean he forgot to treat everybody equally? What's going on with Arjuna? Not at all. So equal disposition doesn't mean identical action, right? A doctor, say for example, he has to treat the patient. He doesn't give the same treatment to everybody. He gives a customized treatment for this person, and he gives a customized treatment for this person depending upon what problem that person has. Similarly, a realized spiritualist, he is disposed equally towards everybody. They see, okay, this patient is suffering from spiritual amnesia. So we need to make sure that they have forgotten their eternal relationship with Lord Krishna. So maybe they definitely need some sort of we need to somehow take care of these people who are in different disposition. Right? Somebody may be a devotee like Arjuna. He needs a specific treatment. Somebody may be a devotee, not a devotee. He may be like Duryodhana. He needs some other treatment. Accordingly, everybody is treated differently. Say, for example, in the cat and the tiger's example, we see the commonality, but at the same time, we have to give a different response mechanism to them. You may pat a cat, but you cannot pat a tiger. This is what is the treatment. Different treatments are necessary depending upon the person or animal or anything that you interact with. So realized devotees, they want to assist Krishna in treating and healing everyone, but not everyone shares any same amount of enthusiasm for being being treated. Somebody may be really enthusiastic. Oh, I really want to go back to Godhead. Please tell me all the instructions that I need to follow. So I will certainly follow all of them and go back to Godhead. This may be the enthusiasm coming from one devotee. Another devotee, he doesn't even know who God is. So for realized devotees, these people, what do? They would probably assist them in a way so they can get closer to Krishna. And that process, even the devotees, the pure devotee, can become close friends with this person. And Yudhishthira, he was such a person for Arjuna. On the other hand, people who are sick, they don't even understand they are sick. They need to be treated differently. And Duryodhana had this mentality of greed and envy, and Arjuna, he appropriately gave a different treatment for him. And so this is what equal vision means, but at the same time, it is not identical reaction, but it's reciprocal action. Depending on however that person would respond to you, accordingly, you give a reciprocal action to that person, which is what is the understanding. Again, the next verse is a beautiful link. There is we are going to see what is the benefits. What will this person get if he's going to have this equal vision? What are the benefits we can see? That will be clarified in the next verse that we'll be doing tomorrow. And from Srila Prabhupada's purport, there are some important points. Here, the word Parameshwara can refer to the Supreme Lord, and Jiva, the controller of the body. We saw how Jiva can also be Ishvara, and Parameshwara is Supreme Lord. And soul is indestructible in the destructible body. It is for Arjuna to not get affected by killing the relatives as they are eternal. So Arjuna has to see with this Jnana Chakshu. Otherwise, he'll be seeing but not seeing. By the knowledge, one should be able to go beyond the emotionally induced misconceptions. By knowledge, by submissive hearing, by attentive listening, and conscious seeing. This is when you are able to come out of this induced misconceptions. By seeing the equality at the level of the soul. That is what Srila Prabhupada says. Discriminating on the basis of guru is also bodily identification. Obviously, we should not look into the externals of the guru, but then we should come beyond that. That is the understanding. We always get stuck up where we look at people with an external vision, and then what happens is our mind starts to speculate, judgmentally see this person with so much, we start to judgmentally analyzing things about that person, which is not at all needed. We are making our mind complex through that process, and again diverting our attention from Krishna in that time. So we should definitely just not indulge ourselves in too much of those externals and bodily things, but we have to see the commonality. This is the understanding for this verse. So with this, what we'll do is I will conclude today's session. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hope you were able to understand what I was trying to say through the purport of Srila Prabhupada. If you have any questions, you can go ahead, dear devotees, and then I will try to answer. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Krishna Mataji, thank you so much. Very nice class, Mataji. Now, please, anybody having any question or realization, kindly unmute and ask, please. Hare Krishna. Any question? Okay, thank you guys. Yesterday also, Prabhuji also explained very well. Today is also very good. Mataji, I have one question. You told that all the living entities equal. Now, you see, we got a human body because of our previous birth activities. We got a human body, we got sense, and so we got the chance to purify our soul by spiritual. Now, what about animals and the tree? How they purify their soul, Mataji?
Yes, a very good question, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So the point is that there is evolution that is going to happen. Tree may not remain like a tree forever. A tree, after some period of time, depending on their karma, it will become a human at some point in time. So God, he's not going to leave anybody because obviously he wants all the souls to come to us. Why he's a tree? Because he was showing off his material body. When he was a human, maybe he showed off his material body. And that is why he became a tree. Depending on what we perform in this birth actually determines what our next birth is going to be. So he will be going through that karma of the destined body for some time. And after that karma, they will slowly evolve. There is a gradation, right? That based on the gradation, they will slowly evolve and they will definitely get a body of a human at some point in time once their evolution cycle is complete. And that time, again, we are not assured that they will come to Godhead. I mean, they will get to know about God. It needs spiritual sukriti for that person to become a devotee of the Lord. So that is the process.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Now, Sandhya Mataji having question. Mataji, kindly ask.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Mataji, and all devotees. Mataji, I remember in the past I've heard something in Bhagavad Gita itself that people who are beautiful, fair-skinned, etc., are kind of blessed or had done very good karmas, and so they get such type of body. I think it's in one of Prabhupadaji's purport. Does that mean now that beauty is trying to say that someone did very beautiful karmas in the past? So is that not a way of differentiating? So that's kind of dualism, isn't it, Mataji? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Good question, Mataji. So beauty, the real beauty for a devotee is the Vaishnava qualities they have. The real beauty is the Vaishnava quality. Some person may be fair skinned, some person may be dark skinned. Externals, it doesn't matter at all. How long are the externals going to remain the same? I may soon be having a wrinkled face with wrinkled eyelids and my hair will go off. How long can I have this externals going on? There is a change at every minute, every second, the body is going through a change. So the externals, whatever beauty or whatever that we see externally, it is all going to last for a specific period of time. After that period, the person who was beautiful is no longer, we see so many actresses who have been beautiful in the past are no longer beautiful now. And real beauty for a devotee is the qualities that he exhibits. So that is the ornament that needs to be treasured. And that is the ornament we have to look at. And that is what is the essence. All these externals, they may be, yes, Mataji, as you said, depending on the piety, depending upon the pious activities a person does, based on which he may be having a particular kind of a body, be it a girl body with the beautiful features, whatever that is, it's all coming from the piety or the karma. But the real beauty for a devotee is the Vaishnava etiquette.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Any other question? Any other question or realization? Kindly unmute and ask, please. I think it's okay. Good, Mataji. Thank you. Now I want to hand over to Partha Prabhuji. Please conclude.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. Also, thanks to all the devotees who are assembling here. It's a nice verse of the Sama Sarveshu Bhutesu Tishtantam Parameshwara Vinashtantastam Nityam Ya Pashyati Sa Pashyati. Sama Sarveshu Bhutesu, Mataji very nicely explained how the soul in everybody's heart and who sees that one. He's really knowledge. Like if you are just rebind in 5.18, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Suni Chaina Sapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. Who is the real Pandita? He is the real knowledgeable person who see everyone, Brahmana, cow, elephant, like a dog and dog eater also, who is the lower class, is equal. So the thing is that we not go for the seeing the bodily appearance. Maybe today we have a human being. Next day, maybe with animal body, maybe with a bird's body, or so many things. There are 8.4 millions of pieces. That is not matter. Matter is who is inside that one. Who see that one, he is truly see the actual truth. See the jnani, like jnana, kshetra, kshetrajna. Like here also describe everything. One is the kshetra, the body, and who is the owner of the body, it means the soul, and who is the friend of the soul, it means the super soul. He is just Anumanta Upadrashta. He is the sower and giving the sanction. Who sees that one? He is the truly knows everything. And that person, how can come? The jnana, by the knowledge, by the association of a devotee, by the reading the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told, then he is getting the proper knowledge. That in that way. Also, Mata is very explained. Like the X-ray, we can saw that photo also, but we cannot understand what is going on, how there is maybe skeleton, there is something problem or whatever it may be. We don't know. But when a practitioner, a medical professional, he saw that X-ray photo, he knows, oh, that is happened. So he knows that one. But we cannot know individually. We can see, oh, this is the difference like this one. But who is the practitioner? He knows what is this one. So similarly, who is the real knowledgeable person. He can see not the body. He cannot see the appearance of the body. He just show what is inside the body. He knows that one. So thank you very much. It's a very simple and very short purport by Prabhupada. Also, thank you very much, Mataji, for your wonderful time and class. Also, I thanks all the devotees who are assembling here. And I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for the glorification of His Her Grace Radhika Kasturi Mataji. Hare Krishna. We join. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare.
Vanchakalpatarobhyasya
Kripa
Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna Radhika Kasturi Mataji ki jai.
All
Jai.
praise assembled devotees. Thank you, Path Prabhu, for beautifully explaining today's
Hare
summary. And not only that, yesterday, I'm sure I'm just waiting for the recording, but it would have been an amazing class as well. So thank you, Prabhuji, for all your services. Hare Krishna, and
Hare
thank you,
Krishna.
Sashwin Prabhu. I don't know your name. I know only your son's
Kumar.
name.
Kumar Mataji.
Kumar.
Kumar.
Kumar
Right.
Prabhuji. Okay. Thank you, Kumar Prabhuji, and I hope Kritika Mataji recovers fast. Even in spite of that, she's doing so many activities. I can see that already. And may Krishna give her more strength to perform her devotional service in this crucial time. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.